Hello and welcome to this video. This is chapter 4 of our video series on how to fight e4 like Caruana. Part 4 deals with the 4 knights and the main line 4 knights. We had some of those, and we should put that on the board, right? So we're dealing with this opening line, the 4 knights game. We had looked at some of those lines already in chapter 3, but chapter 4 will deal with the 2 main continuations that white has available, and that is the move bishop to b5, the Spanish 4 knights, quite logical, that name, or the Scotch 4 knights, that is d4. 2 very respectable opening lines, really very solid for white, and it's no coincidence that I have recommended d4, the Scotch 4 knights, for my 1e4 keep it simple opening repertoire, because it is an opening line where white can keep it simple. So what should we check first? I suggest to start with the Spanish 4 knights, bishop b5. The Spanish 4 knights is an opening that Caruana actually had on the board, contrary to some other lines like the King's Gambit, where we have no information about what he would actually play. With the Spanish 4 knights we have some information. He played the moves knight to d4 and once bishop to c5. Traditionally, Black's 2 main moves here are bishop b4 for complete symmetry or knight d4. Probably of all the moves, the best reputation in some way might have the move knight d4. It's kind of maybe a toss-up between this and bishop b4, but knight d4 is probably what we would call the most principled line on the top level. So I should in some way recommend knight d4 as Caruana has played it. However, I'm not going to do that, and the reason is twofold. The practical problem with this move for the non-professional, the non-top level, is that after knight d4, and there are 2 possible scenarios. One scenario is that white does not know what he's doing, and in this case very often white players will take on d4 and here play the move e5. In this case we have nothing better, and I don't want to go into huge detail here, to play this, which is extremely drawish, very drawish, and tough to win for black. It's the kind of opening line where white is not having anything, but you also have almost no winning chances with black. This is very, very drawish and boring. The problem is that you are both accepting this kind of boring scenario, and on the other hand you're also accepting that white might play a main line, which would be bishop c4 or bishop a4, and those lines can get absolutely crazy, where you sacrifice up to 2 pawns and in exchange and so on. And ultimately, after you have learned and reproduced 25 moves of theory, it's a perpetual. So this is very sharp and interesting to look at. Admittedly, I did check it again for this course, but it feels like you have to learn a boatload of theory, and it's not like one line. It's a bunch. It's a bunch of lines, and they all at the end fizzle out to draws. So I felt that it's not very economical. Like knight d4 is in some way a sharp move, but it also accepts that white might take on d4 and bore you to death. So I wanted a move that has a bit more versatility to it, where you can keep a game going at least and don't accept the draw while still being somewhat interesting. So knight d4 is a bit of a strange combination of being drawish at the same time, but also can lead to super sharp play that is analyzed to death in a way. It's a bit of an odd combination that I didn't like so much. Bishop b4 is a little bit better in that regard, the symmetry here. That can also be quite drawish, admittedly, if white really wants to kill everything off. But that is a better choice in comparison. However, I wanted to suggest bishop c5 in this position. And one of the reasons is that Caruana has played it at least once. That's a point, of course, in the context of this concept. And the other reasoning was that I had actually recommended this move some years ago in my YouTube series on e4, e5. And I checked it again for this course, and black is doing fine, I think. Black is doing fine in bishop c5. So I really saw no particular reason not to recommend the move. Caruana has played it once. So I suggest to play this move. It's a very natural developing move. And what I think is quite attractive about it is that the idea to play knight d4, which is quite strategically desirable, is still in the position. Why is that desirable? Because we attack two pieces, and if we remove the knight from d4 and we attack the bishop will very likely move. So we gain a bit of time, and at the same time, which is very, very nice actually, at the same time we move this knight and we are able to play c6 later. We will see some of those ideas shortly. Okay, after bishop c5, what are the critical tries? The only critical tries against this move are two lines. The first line is the immediate knight takes e5. We already know of this idea, that sacrifice followed up by d4, regaining the piece. That can be played here immediately, or white can castle first, after which I recommend to also castle, and then white can take. So we have two versions of this pseudo sacrifice. In fact, they look quite similar, but they lead to completely different positions. The fact that white both sides have castled in one case and not castled in the other makes a huge difference. So those lines we will check at the end of our examination of the line, because it makes sense to look at them together. I mean, as mentioned, they are quite different, but some ideas are of course still shared. So what should we check first? The first move I suggest to check is what happens if white simply takes on c6. Oh, that's odd. I'm sorry about that. I hope that doesn't happen again. So bishop takes c6, and black of course has to recapture, and we always take with the d pawn. Absolutely always. I don't think there's a case of b takes c6 anywhere in this repertoire. You take with the d pawn to open up the bishop, and you also need some tactical ideas connected to the now more active queen. Here we have to check a couple of tries for white. The most obvious one would be to grab the pawn. This, however, is not a problem at all. We take on f2. Yeah, note that this is not a good idea. It looks strong, like a double attack, but after knight d3, this is not working out all that well. We can, however, take on f2. This is fine. Takes, we check, and we regain the piece. Here black is in very good shape. After d3, bishop e6, for example, we are going to castle, probably queenside, and we have, I think, a comfortable position because the white king is not yet completely coordinated. So it is absolutely not dangerous if white takes on e5. He can, however, play d3 or castle. If white plays d3, we get a very slowish type of maneuvering game. Yeah, it's a very slow game now, where both sides have some leeway in maneuvering. I suggest to play queen to e7. If you enjoyed the free video preview, make sure to go to chessable.com/free fight like Caruana to get the full course. The full course with the move trainer and video sync technology is an excellent way to learn all the ideas and strategies connected to this repertoire. These lines were essential in Caruana's fight to get the world title match, and they can be an essential part of your opening repertoire as well.